Hello, welcome back to the channel. It is Dan, Nocturne Knives, coming at you today with a quick first impressions video for this knife, the Giant Mouse Ace Corta. I got this in from the Apex pass-around group a couple days ago. Been carrying it around for the past few days, using it to cut up a few things, and I wanted to share my thoughts before I send it off to the next reviewer. So this knife is in Giant Mouse's Ace line, which is a continuous production line, so they're always available. They're continuously being made, unlike their limited run versions. This particular one is made by Reate, has M390 blade steel, natural micarta handles, liner lock, and what I believe is a brass backspacer. And this one is a flipper running on ball bearings. To start things off, let's get a few measurements. So overall length coming in at about 7¼ inches. Blade length is coming in right about 3 inches, maybe 3.1. And then cutting edge is coming in just right on 3 inches. Looking here at handle thickness, we have 0.49, so about ½ inch on the handle thickness, pretty average. Take a look at blade stock, about 0.13. Let's hop into my likes, neutrals, and dislikes for this knife. So my first like here is the aesthetics. I think this is a great looking knife. The lines are super nice. The straight spine flowing into a gentle curve on the handle. This angle back here, combined with that nice sweeping blade, I think it has really good lines. It's a great looking knife. Just about any angle. The brass backspacer looks good. The natural micarta looks really nice. The finishing on the blade, it all looks really cool. I'm a big fan of the aesthetics on this. Next like is the materials on this. Natural micarta, and this stuff feels and looks very high quality. Great micarta, M390 on the blade, if heat treated well, is an awesome steel. The brass, I like all the materials on this. They look good, they feel good. I think they're well chosen for this knife. Next, the pocket clip. I always love a nice wider pocket clip, and this one is done pretty darn well. It has enough ramp to get over most pockets, plenty of clearance to go into just about any pockets, and it carries at a great depth, just right up, very close to the end of the knife. You'll have maybe an 1/8 inch of this sticking out of your pocket. I think that's done very well. My next like is this brass backspacer. I think it gives it a nice pop over something like a titanium backspacer, and these subtle jimping patches of jimping here look really cool. I'm not sure how much they do in terms of function, but they do look cool. They add a little visual intrigue to this backspacer. My next like is the action. Thing has really nice action. Specifically, the detent is very well done. You pull that flipper tab and blade absolutely flies open with no effort. You can't really fail this knife. It works best in a light switch like that, but you can get a push button there and it works just fine. It's just not as comfortable with this flipper tab, but the detent is perfectly done. In my opinion, great strength for the flipper tab, and it's not too strong, which some knives are. In order to get that super snappy action, they go with a detent that's too strong. This one is done very well. My next like is the hardware. First, it's pretty high quality hardware, nicely machined, fairly deep, and then what I like most about it is it's all T8, so you only need one size bit for every piece of hardware on here. Now, the pivot, I'm not sure if it's captive or not, but it's tooled on both sides, so not a huge deal either way. And then my next like is going to be the blade on this. First, I think it's a really nice blade shape. This continuous curve in the belly, I really like that in a blade. I think it offers a lot of utility, and it looks really good, so I'm a big fan of that. I like the high flat grind. I like how pointy it is. And then it's pretty well ground, about 15, 16 thousandths behind the edge. I think that's a good place to be, a good thickness behind the edge. Could it be thinner? Yeah, it'd be really cool if it was like 10 thousandths, 11, 12 thousandths. That'd be really neat. But 15, not bad at all. I really can't complain too much about that. Next like is this crowned spine. I think it looks really nice, and it feels really good. You can see it's just lightly rounded. It just gives your finger a really nice, soft, comfortable place to land. I think it's really good. I like it. Adds a nice little classy touch, and I know Giant Mouse does that on a lot of their stuff. I think it's cool. My next like is carryability for this thing. It is pretty compact and very easy to carry. With the pocket clip, how compact it is when it's all folded up, the cant of the pocket clip, so it kind of tucks into the corner of your pocket there. It carries really, really nicely. You slide it in your pocket and it disappears super well, especially for a knife that's a little bit chunky. It's a little bit on the thick side. It's not super thin, and it definitely has a bit of weight to it. If I remember, I'll put the weight up on screen somewhere, or maybe I already did during the specs. Who knows? Trying to remember to do that. But it carries very well for a slightly chunky knife. It's a great size for EDC, right around that 3-inch blade. Is a great sweet spot for a lot of EDC tasks. And then my final like is the ergonomics. This thing has great ergos. They really are excellent. First, you have these two scallops here, flat spot here, so your pointer finger falls there, middle finger falls here, your last two fingers fall in that flat spot, and it just tucks into your hand like it's perfectly made for it, at least my hand. If you have a vastly different size hand, this might not be quite as comfortable for you. I wear a medium to a large glove, something like that. I think my hands are pretty average sized. But the ergos on this are so nice. In the saber grip, it tucks into your hand. This flat spot hits your hand right here, super comfortable. Your fingers naturally wrap around it. Your thumb lands right here on the crown spine, and it's super comfortable. And then hammer grip, same thing. It's really good in a hammer grip too. And a pinch grip, it feels really nice. There's no harsh jimping back here to cut into your finger as you're pressing down into whatever you're cutting. And your pointer finger can kind of grab onto the front of this flipper tab where this jimping is. Maybe that's what they put it there for, who knows. But it gives you a really nice pinch grip. Say you're cutting some food or cutting rope, something like that. Excellent ergos. And you can kind of choke up a little bit. I wouldn't really recommend it. I don't think it works that well, but you could if you really wanted to. And this blade is short enough that you can get up towards the tip for fine cutting, stuff like that. My next like is this sharpening choil. It's a perfectly done choil. You can see how much it clears that plunge grind. You have plenty of space to get in there while you're sharpening. You'll easily do that, and you won't be running anywhere near your plunge grind. You can see this plunge grind. I think it's done really well. That nice hard kind of 45-degree angle straight down, and it's well clear of the beginning of that edge. This is a perfectly done choil. Great job, Giant Mouse, on this choil. It's excellent. And those are my likes. Let's move on to some neutrals now. So my first neutral is the weight. This thing is a little bit on the heavy side. Again, I don't remember exactly what it is. Hopefully I put it on screen at some point. If not, maybe I'll remember at this point, third try. But it is a little bit on the chunky side. Some of it definitely has to do with that brass backspacer. You can see the balance point coming in just before the forward finger groove here. So it's a little handle heavy, I think mostly because of this backspacer. So you do have just a little bit of weight for such a small knife, but it's really not, it's not insane. I carried this for several days in different kinds of shorts, and it's really not a huge deal. I don't think it's that big a deal, the weight. It still disappears pretty well in your pocket. And then my next neutral is this jimping. It just, I have no real use for it. It just doesn't do anything for me. In a saber grip, my thumb wants to land here. I have to kind of unnaturally extend to get my thumb to land up here. It doesn't feel comfortable. It feels much more natural for me to have my thumb here before where that jimping is. So the jimping really does nothing for me. This is not a natural position to be in. Doesn't feel comfortable. It's not really, it's kind of there where you can put your pointer finger on it, but it'd be more effective up here. I don't know, I could take it or leave it. I really don't care either way. It doesn't interfere with me, but it also doesn't help me, I would say. And if you were cutting things with your thumb up here, your thumb would be liable to hit whatever you're cutting it. Say you're cutting into some cardboard. That cardboard is going to come right to where your thumb is. So I would rather have my thumb back here for most cutting tasks. And then my last neutral is the blade finish. It's a belt satin, and while it is done well, I'm kind of, I don't know, over belt satins like this with really defined grind lines. It looks good. It's a very well done belt satin. I just wish it were a stone wash. I've been definitely more into stone washes, like a bead blasty, like a light bead blast and then a stone wash, or a heavier, smoother stone wash. I've been more into that lately. I would prefer to see a stone wash on this. Just that'd be my preference. But if you like a satin finish, this is a very well done satin finish. You can see nice defined grind lines here and then a horizontal satin on the flats. Both very well done. And now on to my dislikes. I really only have two dislikes. The first one is this flipper tab. While it's shaped nice, it's very easy to use, it has a nice shape, it is too sharp. I don't know if you'll be able to tell, but all these corners and edges are pretty much unchamfered. So it's very sharp on the edges. So if you want to do a push button, it's pretty sharp and abrasive on your finger. And then it's also going to be catching on whatever's in your pocket, definitely eating them up with its sharp corners. And when you're up here, it kind of digs into your index finger a little bit just because it is sharp like that. So if this were my knife, I would be knocking the edges down on this flipper tab, which would be super easy to do. Just take a diamond file or some sandpaper, anything like that, and you could super easily add some chamfers to this flipper tab, make it a lot better. And then my second and final dislike is lock bar access. I think it is not enough. There's not enough access for this lock bar. You can see it's only barely proud of the hand of this show side scale here, and there's no relief on the inside of the scale. So you kind of just have to jam your thumb down and press it over, and it's kind of uncomfortable. It's not like hard to do, but it is pretty uncomfortable to do. So I don't like it. I think it should either stick out farther, there should be some relief on the inside of this show side scale, or it should be cut down farther. Again, this would be a pretty easy mod to do. Just sand this micarta away to expose the lock more, maybe put a little chamfer on the inside. I think it would be super easy to do, and then you'd have much better access, and you have a decent bit of micarta here on that show side scale to play with that you could remove. Those are my two issues. Flipper tab's a little sharp, and there's not enough lock bar access, both of which could be fixed though without too much trouble. And now let's move on to some conclusions. So in conclusion, I really like a lot of what this knife is doing. The detent is fantastic, the ergos are great, the blade is really nice, and the aesthetics are fantastic, in my opinion. It only has a few minor issues. The flipper tab is a little sharp, and there's not enough lock bar access. But both of those issues could be fixed without too much trouble. Do some light mods, chamfer that, sand away some of this micarta, increase that access, and you would have a fantastic EDC knife. It's a great size for EDC, coming in just over 7 inches, about a 3-inch blade, a 3-inch cutting edge, in a nice steel. This M390, in my experience, Reate does M390 pretty decently. You know, it could be better, but it's pretty decent. And with the nice thin grind on this knife, you could lay down that edge angle a lot, and you would have a really nice cutting knife. And I believe these are coming in around the $200 mark, which for a Reate made folding knife like this is a really good price. If I get that wrong, I'll put it on screen, but I'm pretty sure it's somewhere around that $200 mark. I would say this is a solid value at the price they're charging for this. I think it's done well. Oh, and I forgot to mention, it has a reversible pocket clip, and it's not too hard to use left-handed. You can get that lock bar pretty decent, and if you increase that lock bar access, it would definitely be easier for a lefty to do it. So it does have some AMB potential. So yeah, great knife. I think I would recommend it if you're willing to do those two mods. Then I think you'll be really happy with this knife. And those are all my thoughts about this knife, the Giant Mouse Ace Corta. If you have any thoughts about this, maybe you picked one up, you didn't pick one up, I would love to hear your thoughts about that. Go drop a comment, let me know why or why not. If you've been checking this knife out, what do you think about it? I'd love to hear it. While you're down there, don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe button if you like sharpening, knife content, all that sorts of stuff. Would definitely help me out. And with all that said, thank you very much for watching, and I will catch you on the next one.